What's up, science lovers? My name is Ria, and I'm one of your cafe coordinators. We're back with November's Teen Science Cafe presentation. Before we go further, we'd love it if you pause and silence your phone and give our Instagram and Facebook accounts a follow while you're at it. Follow us and stay up to date on more amazing cafes and enjoy fun and educational science content created and shared by teens for teens. Please remember to be respectful during the presentation and save questions for Q&A section at the end of the cafe. If you're tuning in through our YouTube live stream, welcome. Please feel free to leave your questions and comments in the chat, and we'll share them as time allows. You can also view recordings of this cafe and many other teen science cafes on the museum's YouTube channel.
Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm Ryan. Just a heads up, we'll be asking you to complete a survey at the end of this cafe. Your feedbacks and your suggestions help our cafe coordinators choose our future topics and help improve the program. After the program, scan the QR code on your table to access the evaluation, and then show your completed survey to one of the coordinators, and you'll get a piece of candy as a thank you. Tonight, we've got a very intriguing guest for you. Our presenter is Liz Farquhar, a master's student of marine science at UNC Wilmington. Liz is currently studying how technology can be used to fight climate change and working on developing a low-cost CO2 flux sensor to detect the movement of carbon in and out of her blue carbon habitats. Get ready to learn about Liz's journey through marine science and hear her best college and graduate school advice. Please welcome Liz Farquhar.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Can you guys hear me okay? Is this a good? Okay. Well, as they said, my name is Liz Farquhar. And tonight I'm just going to talk a little bit about what my life is like as a real life marine science student. I know a lot of people think that we just ride with dolphins all day or something. But yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so just a little bit of background about me. So as they mentioned, I'm currently at UNCW doing my master's. I did go to Chapel Hill for my undergraduate, so go Heels. Sorry if there's any Duke fans. There shouldn't be. And then, so just kind of getting into it, how did I get into marine science? Because I did not always know I wanted to do this. I definitely thought at one point I was going to be a journalist, ? I don't know. There was a lot of back and forth here. So it all started when I watched Finding Nemo. Not actually, but kind of, when you really think about it. So I'm just going to kind of go through a timeline of my journey. So I started undergrad at UNC, and the first year or so, you're just kind of taking all these gen ed classes. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to be my major, because I was like, oh my gosh, whatever I declare my major is going to be my entire life. Like, this is it. This makes or breaks it. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But honestly, when it came down to it, I went onto the UNC majors website, and I just looked at all of them, and I was like, well, this one sounds the most interesting to me, and I just need to declare something. So I ended up declaring environmental science as my major. And then through that program, I kind of started to have, classes with professors who are asking people if, hey, is there anybody in here who'd be interested in helping out in a lab? And I was like, yeah, I would, I guess. So one of the first projects that I ever got to work on was working with a PhD student, and I basically did grunt work, but it was really exciting for me because I got to see corals, and those are just 4 of the corals that I got to work with, and by work with, I mean scrub algae out of the tanks. But it was fun. We had a good time. We would play music and stuff, it's good. And it was also just good to get my hands in a lab and kind of start learning the lingo. You'd be sitting in those meetings and they're saying all these fancy words and you're like, I have no idea what they're saying, but you learn, you really do. So then my third year at UNC, there's this program where you can spend a semester at Morehead City, which is on the coast. That's where there's the Duke Marine Lab, the Institute of Marine Science for Chapel Hill, and also NC State's Marine Lab. So it's like they're all in this one area. It's really cool. So I got to spend a semester there, and I kind of just spent the semester studying marine science and getting introduced to it, which was really cool because that was actually, I think, the year where I was like, all right, this marine science thing, I think this might be it. This is cool. I like it. So one of the really cool things we got to do was like tag along on a lot of sampling trips. And so UNC Institute of Marine Science, one of the things they're known for is they have the longest running shark survey program. So we got to like stand on the boat while they did their shark survey. So this is a shark getting measured. It was catch and release. This is all done with permits and everything. It's very, it's a long program. But yeah, so this is just cool, you get to like go see new things that I've never seen before. All right, and then also in my third and fourth year, I started working in a hydrology lab, which is basically the study of water broadly. So I started working in a hydrology lab, and we were actually looking at the difference in water quality between beaver ponds and stormwater ponds. So this was away from marine science, but it was still research practice, and it was really good. That lab was like great. I ended up doing a lot more work with them, and it really helped me kind of get interested in the technology aspects of things. But yeah, this is me and two of my old lab mates, Tessa and Katie, and we were just doing some field work. So that's just a picture from that. So after I graduated with the same lab, the hydrology people, I got to go to Ecuador for 2 months and basically just did field work every single day, which sounds cool, but it was very hard, I will say, because it was 14,000 feet elevation and it was cold and rainy a lot. So it was a tough one, but it was really good. And so I got to look at carbon in streams there. And that was kind of also when I continued getting interested in this like relationship with carbon, water, technology, all of that stuff. So this is another picture of me and Tessa in the field working in Ecuador. It wasn't always that sunny, I'll tell you that. So now I'm here and I'm working at UNCW. I'm a graduate student there, and I'm working on developing a low-cost CO2 sensor. So basically just a sensor to measure the CO2 that's dissolved in water and then the CO2 that's in the air. It takes measurements of both and compares those. So this picture is the CMS, Center for Marine Science, our dock. So this is like where I go to school now. It's pretty nice, I must say. But yeah, so that's like a little bit about what's led me to this so far. But what do my friends do as real life marine scientists and biologists? Because like I said, everyone thinks that we play with dolphins or we just like all do coral stuff, but it's not true. And so I just wanted to highlight a few of my friends. So this is Skye, and this is a great picture of her in the field taking some water samples. But yeah, so she is actually the first person to DNA sequence green algae in North Carolina. There's like a bunch of different species that were unknown, and she's actually the one who's like sequencing these and putting them on the genome, and there's like a big database for all this stuff. So that's cool. Another thing that she does is she kind of makes this pressed art with them. So it's just really beautiful because of you just get those red algae and the green algae, and they all look so different. So yeah, she just does a lot of cool stuff like that. This is my friend Anna and Zaz. So they study the blood of crab-eater seals, and crab-eater seals are found in Antarctica, and they're basically looking at kind of the concentration of carbon monoxide in their blood as they dive and when they come back up, because it has implications for lots of human health things and whatnot. But yeah, so this is a picture of them in the field. They actually got to go to Antarctica to study them, which is really cool. I am very jealous. And yeah, this is what one of the crab-eater seals would look like. And I did also just want to highlight the crab-eater seal's teeth. You'll see that they have this crazy swirly pattern, and it's just really interesting. And that's how you know it's a crab-eater seal, is because it has those crazy teeth. But yeah, so This is my friend Caroline as well, also my roommate, and she studies the effect of this phytoplankton on scallops. So this is a certain type of diatom that produces a blue pigment. So like if you've ever had a blue oyster, that's what's making it blue. But yeah, another thing I wanted to also highlight was, do you see these little blue eyes? Those are scallop eyes. Scallops have eyes, and like a lot of them, and they're weird and freaky and blue, and you can see them because she has a bunch in these tanks at school, and we'll just go look, and they're just staring, and it's funny. So scallops do have eyes, and they're very sassy and they're funny. So yeah, she gets to do a lot of stuff with them. This is my friend Danielle. So she is currently looking at the effects of dredging through acoustic monitoring. So basically listening to a habitat before and after it's been dredged to kind of see, is it the same as it was? Probably not, but we're gonna quantify it. So yeah, one of the ways that you do that is through monitoring the sound of snapping shrimp. So snapping shrimp live in a lot of marine environments, and they literally are known for like this noise that they make. And I'll see if it can play. I got a recording of it, but it might not, which is fine. Okay. It won't, but I'll show you guys afterwards. It basically just sounds like crackling. So if you're ever underwater and you hear like a faint crackling, it might be snapping shrimp. It probably is. They're kind of everywhere. But yeah, so another thing that Danielle did was she would do, she's part of a dolphin identification program. So they'd go out on a boat, basically look for dolphins and take pictures of their fins. And you can tell, like it's kind of a marker. So you can see if a dolphin is, is it frequenting the same area over and over? Is it, oh, there was a dolphin here. Was it that one? So you can kind of keep track of them, keep tabs on them. How are they doing? So that's like dolphin ID work, which is cool. Oh, it's working. Yeah, okay, so that was the snapping shrimp. As I said, it's kind of like, it sounds like, like pop rocks or something. Like it just sounds crackly. But yeah, so a lot of people use that sound as a proxy for ecosystem health, really. So kind of cool. Okay, this is my friend Russell. He dissects fish brains. They've done sharks in his labs. They're called the zombie lab, actually, because they do so much brain work. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so he looks at the difference between brains of the wild and farmed fish and just kind of sees what's the difference between those brains. How is farming fish affecting their brains? It's really interesting because this has a lot of implications for human brain health as well. He did a study in undergrad where he was looking at flies, and somehow that work had connections to Alzheimer's, and I forget exactly what it was, but all I know is that it's crazy. All of this stuff has just these crazy applications that you wouldn't think of. Okay, lastly, what do? So I do a less I don't do as much biology stuff as my friends. I'm kind of more on this technology bordering on engineering side of things. So currently I'm working on building a low-cost instrument to study CO2 fluxes in seagrass meadows. The reason that I'm choosing seagrass meadows is because they're a blue carbon habitat. That just means it's a habitat that is in the ocean that stores a lot of carbon. This little fun fact here is, I like to share it because it kind of captures how important they are. So worldwide, seagrass only covers 0.2% of Earth's surface, but it's responsible for 10% of the carbon that's stored by the ocean. And the ocean is the world's largest carbon sink, so you can imagine that is significant. So this is a picture of what my instrument looks like so far. And this was me strapping it on a buoy and testing it out in one of our tanks out back and just kind of seeing, what's the best way to attach it to a buoy. So basically just kind of trying to figure out what's the best way to measure carbon and how do we do it affordably. Currently, a lot of CO2 flux machines they cost easily $40,000, pretty much. We made this prototype in parts for $2,000, so hopefully we can get more of them distributed, which would be really cool to see. But yeah, so this kind of sums up what my friends and I have been doing in grad school as these marine biologists and marine science students. But I know a lot of you guys are currently in this state of high school and you're maybe thinking about going to college or figuring out what you're going to do after high school. So I wanted to give you guys a few bits of advice from my old age. But these are some of the things that I have come to find. So my first most important tidbit of advice to you guys is to follow your interests. I know this sounds like a basic thing, but I've seen so many people in college who are just doing something because I don't even know why. They just picked something and they were like so dead set on it and they weren't even interested in it. They didn't even have any passion for it and they were just like, I'm just doing this. So really just like follow your interests. If you find something interesting, don't worry if it's not, oh, I haven't ever done this before. Oh, I don't know anything about that. Like, that is what college is for. Like, go explore it. For me, I've noticed that a lot of the things that I liked as a kid are the things that I enjoy in life now. Like Finding Nemo was my favorite movie growing up. I used to like do those little dinosaur kits where you dig out fake bones and stuff, and like just like all these little sciencey things that I think back now to, and I'm like, wow, now I'm kind of doing that in a more professional way. So yeah, think of the things that you guys did as kids and like what did you like as kids, and follow that interest. And also I wanted to mention that at least when I went to high school, they didn't really tell us that college isn't the only option. Like, there are other things out there. So I just wanted to mention it, but yeah, so college is not the only path to success/happiness. There's trade schools, apprenticeships, professional programs, a lot of programming classes where you can get certified in different languages and that kind of thing, and then you can be like a crazy software engineer, that kind of stuff. One of my friends, he's in a welding union right now, and so he like is building all these crazy buildings and whatnot, and he like really loves it, and he's getting paid and protected really well. So I just wanted to mention that college, I love college obviously, but like, there's other paths out there, and you don't need to feel bad about if you don't want to go to college. But if you do go to college, I do recommend that you study abroad. For me, this was one of the first times I kind of felt like I had a community, because making friends in college is different. So I went to Costa Rica the summer after my freshman year, and I studied medical Spanish. And I don't know, it was like the first time I had this group of people who were just all like goofy and doing the same thing as me. And I was like, this is great. And I'm learning so much. Like, I have never been like thrown into a situation like that and learned so much. So I'd really recommend that you study abroad. There's a lot of different scholarships to help you do so if you do go to college. But yeah, also, if you are interested in science and pursuing that, which you probably are if you're here, but I would recommend that you get into a lab as soon as you can. Like I said, when I was a sophomore, I just had a professor be like, hey, can anyone help me out in my lab? And I was like, okay. So then I ended up, scrubbing algae for him, and it ended up like helping me with everything else along the line. So I just recommend that you try to get into a lab. It does not have to do anything with what you think you want to do in the world. It can just be literally just for experience, something to put on the resume. It's great. A lot of professors, they need help. They always have a grad student like me who needs help. So feel free, you just go up to them and you ask, hey, you have a lab, can I help? And they'll 9 times out of 10 take you. And then my last bit of advice is that you can quit something. I know that we're taught to be like, we're not gonna quit, let's keep going, but really, like, if you are going down this path and you are like, oh man, this is not for me, this is not a fit at all, you can quit, you can change. It's not too late, I swear. So I just wanted to mention that, because I really did start out college thinking I was gonna do like the journalism school at Chapel Hill, or like, I don't even know. I was like, architecture maybe? I have no idea. So just, you can switch around, I promise. It's okay. But yeah, so before we get into our little activity boxes, I just wanted to show you guys real quick one of the things that my lab has been doing. So like I mentioned, we kind of focus on this low-cost instrumentation. So this is a low-cost water level sensor that my lab mate built. And yes, it is in a gelato container. And this gelato container made it through a tropical storm. So this thing is hardy. So I was just going to turn it on and show you guys the different parts of it. As I said, I'm kind of in this technology engineering space. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys the different parts of it and tell you how it works. And then we can move into how would we use this sensor in the activity that you are about to do, like how we'll connect it. But yeah, so I'm going to switch this. One moment. Yes, okay, it worked. Cool. Okay, so what this is basically every sort of sensor you have, it has this thing called the microcontroller. The microcontroller is the thing that's giving out commands. For this guy, the microcontroller is this middle. Let me see if you can see this. So you can't really see it because it's stacked on top of each other, but it's this middle guy, and this is where you would plug in the battery. So basically, all this middle is doing is saying, hey, this is what I want you to do. It also has this mini SD card on it, and that's where it would record the data. So let's say you were to deploy this on a dock and leave it for a few days. You could come back, download the data, and see what was happening. So that's one thing. The top here, this is just a board to display the numbers that are spit out. So I'll show you when I turn it on. But basically, all this is a way of visually seeing the numbers that spit out. This part on the back, so this is called the RTC, which is just real-time clock. It's a whole chip just for this. I say it's crazy. But anyway, so there's no point in having data if you don't know when it was taken. So usually a lot of these kind of things, they'll have some sort of way to clock time and say, what time was this data taken, and that kind of thing. So that's the three main parts of this guy. It's actually pretty simple. As you can see, these guys are just stacked right on top of each other, and it's only connected to, it's only 3 wires coming out of it connected to the thing that's actually doing the sensing, which is this. So what this is doing is it's actually kind of like a, it's like what's the word? Oh, sound wave. There we go. It's like a sound wave. So this guy, he'll put out a sound wave. You can kind of see it out of the metal thing. And then it goes down, and the sound wave gets shot out, and then it bounces on the surface and comes back and gets received in this cone. The reason it's cone shaped is that so it's not getting sound waves from the left and from the right. It's getting the sound waves that are coming straight back up. So by calculating the amount of time it takes for that sound wave to come back up, you can know how far away is the surface. For us, we would put it on a dock and kind of have it showing, high tide, low tide, because the surface would be rising and falling. So I'm going to just plug it in real quick and just show you the numbers that spit out. But one moment. Okay, so all I did was turn on or plug in the battery. So see how it says, I don't know, you guys can see that, right? Sort of. It says distance, centimeters, and then it has a number. That distance will change depending on, if I'm putting it right here, now it's bouncing off the floor, and it's reading 93 centimeters. If I put it over here, it's reading 68. So we can play around with this after the activity, but basically I just wanted to show how fast and easy this is and how great of a tool this could be for people who just want to monitor their own local flooding or sea level change. So yeah, this whole thing was built for $99, which really is not that much in the sensor world. So it's a pretty cool way to just get to monitor water level around you. But yeah, also the code and instructions to make this are online. If anyone's interested, let me know. I can direct you. But yeah, so I think with that, we're going to move into the activity. Did that? Oh, I forgot that this is one moment. But yeah, so the activity is the boxes on your guys' tail. If you open it, there's going to be, you kind of separate all of the materials. Okay, so you should see a red line inside of your box. So what you're going to do is you're going to each have a different sort of habitat that you're building, and we're going to see how these different habitats stand up to sea level rise, aka us pouring water into the box. So what you're going to do, and there's instructions, I believe, with each of these on the clipboard. Yeah. So you're going to put the sand, and you're going to fill up that whole area where the up to the red line with your sand, and then whatever habitat you have, there's little tools to make it whatever habitat. So some of you guys have, I think, rocks or like little houses to make it a community, and sponges for estuary. So you're gonna set those up according to what you guys are doing, and then once you guys have it set up, we're gonna pour water in to make the ocean, and then you're gonna see how does your community stand up to a tidal wave, basically. But yeah, so we're gonna see how that goes, and if there's anything else I'm missing, let me know.
Now is that time. If anyone is not currently sitting at a table with a activity box, if you want to join in on one of these 4 tables, take a second, review your sheets. There's just a little bit of quick instructions on there, some information about your town that you are building. You also should pick a group name and a town name. So we'll take about 5 minutes to build our towns. Feel free to chat. The sand should go in the box all on the shorter end. If you look at that red line, your sand will go on the shorter end. The water will go on the other side. You know what? While we are doing this activity, can we just take a quick pause real quick and just do a round of applause for our speaker, Liz, tonight? Thank you. We'll come back to you in about 5 minutes. To the group. Let's move on to this next table next to you right here.
Our group name was the Fantasy 5 with 3 hearts just to beat the other team. Our town name was the Fives Kingdom because there are 5 of us, and it relates to the group name. So we had mixed ideas. So 4 out of 5 of us continue with my idea, and then there was somebody who went rogue. So I can't say this without laughing. So when you pour water,
Did you make a river?
yes. When you pour water on things that aren't stable, they go down. So that's what happened with ours. So the houses and the people just became little stepping stones so people can learn how to swim.
Well, thank you for sharing.
I can't say this without laughing.
Thank you for that laugh. I appreciate that. Let's move to our last group.
Hello, everybody. My name is Leah, and our group name is the Silly Geese, and our town name is Legoland because why not? So our little water thing was an estuary, so we had to put like sponges on like the shore wall, and we had 3 of them. So we kind of packed all the sand on one side and tried to make it solid so it wouldn't completely destroy, but that's ended up happening when we dumped the 2 cups of water. The whole thing is just a sad, messy brown puddle now. Anyways, so it was fine when we poured it in a 3 because the sponges like absorbed everything and it was all good. And yeah, that's what happened. Here's our picture.
Thank you so much. I will say, I think that the sponge group potentially fared the best, and that's consistent with our shorelines that we allow to remain as a natural estuary. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Liz. Actually, we need announcements for Q&A.
So the floor is now open for Q&A. So if you have any questions, make sure to raise your hand.
Yellow.
So she said that the estuaries usually fare better. Why is that?
A lot of estuaries, they have those big marsh. Have you ever seen like sea marsh? You know, there's just a ton of like grass and stuff. Yeah, so that grass, when waves hit it, the grass almost stops that wave energy. So, you know, if you imagine a wave coming and then hitting just a big pile of grass and mud, it almost just completely just kind of stops. So it absorbs a lot of wave energy is a really big reason. A lot of it is also because sea marshes can actually kind of keep up with sea level change because they grow. So marshes are constantly growing. They're constantly getting thicker and thicker. So if the sea is rising, you know, like a couple millimeters per year, sometimes the sea marsh can actually kind of keep up with that. So those are two big reasons. Yeah, I think a lot of it is like because the wave energy attenuation. Yeah. It also, I mean, yeah, like you saw, it absorbed all that water and kind of like just really, they are like sponges. They do call marshes, they call marshes the sponges of the ocean. It's true. Oh, they were. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, they said that it did kind of rise with when they poured the water in the sea. Like the sponges started to kind of float and expand. Anything else?
So my question is, you said you and all of your friends like would study these things, but what happens to that information? Like who does it go to? Where does it go to? Like is it open to the public or is it just like a research paper?
Yes, so this is a great question. One of our big goals as scientists is to publish. So basically, you publish to a peer-reviewed paper. All that means is that you write up basically a paper, has an introduction, methods, your data, and conclusions. So you write all of that up, you write every single thing you ever did, like what you guys concluded from this, and you publish it. And so all of that is made to people who, there's like all these big journals that, let's say there's a journal called Oceanography. So everyone who like keeps up with oceanography, they would see your paper and they would understand it. A lot of it, like currently, all of this is kind of our thesis work. So our thesis work, usually theses are made public. I don't know if you've ever used Google Scholar, but a lot of them get put on there so you can like Google them. Yeah, but it's kind of like there's a swath, you know, so there's published papers. Some people are working with like local entities, like we have the Albemarle Pamlico network, partnership, there we go. Albemarle Pamlico Sound like partnership. And so they're in charge of doing a lot of conservation work in that big sound where there's a lot of marshes and seagrass. So a lot of people are actually like working with them. So the data from their like theses from their research, it gets directly put to that entity, and then that entity can use it to further inform their actions. I think that answers it. Let me know.
Do you want to build technology to stop floods?
Yeah, well, yes. I guess my thing is I almost build technology to monitor floods, not necessarily stop them, but I would love to do that. I think that it might not be in my personal wheelhouse, but yes, I think a lot of what we do is like we monitor the problem because you can't do anything about the problem if there's not data. Because you go to any sort of person who has power and you're like, hey, we really need to restore like these marshes and we want to build a seawall here. And they're like, why? And you're like, well, because, you know, the ocean has been rising and this marsh has been receding. And they're like, where's the data? And you're like, oh, I don't have it. So you have to like have data for all these things. If you want to make change, like you kind of have to have a way of monitoring all these things. So that's kind of more what we do. And then the people who are like the fixers, they'll come in, use that data to like make their fix. So yes and no.
I know it's not your particular area of expertise, but you said you got to be present when they were tagging different animals, such as sharks or observing dolphin fins. What kind of can be accomplished by tagging animals? What is kind of the hope to be accomplished there?
Totally. There's a lot of things. So with sharks specifically, what they were doing was measuring the average length of each of them, their sex, what species they were, and there was like one other thing. With sharks, they don't typically do like a GPS tag or anything. It's usually just that like physical data. So what they do with that is they have this data from sharks in the area for probably like 40 years. They've noticed a huge decline in shark size, quantity, and a shift from species. There used to be a lot more diversity, and now it's, you know, mainly like 2 types of sharks that they catch. So the outcome there is to see how populations are changing. A lot of sharks are dying because of like human activity. So you can say, hey, look, you know, this type of fishing has increased and the sharks are suffering in this way. So you can kind of see, it's kind of just like more of like the monitoring thing, like seeing actually what's the issue. With marine mammals, especially because they're so known for their crazy migratory stuff, you know, you can put a whale in the middle of nowhere and it knows exactly where it came from and it heads back there. So a lot of people put like GPS tags on whales and kind of can monitor that migratory route. They do that with sea turtles and a few other things as well. But that's like to inform like how do they have this crazy like ability to do this. They have just so many types of that. They have ones that like monitor how deep a marine mammal goes and then like how it comes out. So that's how we know how deep these guys go and like how are they able to do this. And that's kind of one of the things my roommate looks at actually with the crab eater seals is she's seeing how these animals are able to hold their breath for so long, and they kind of produce carbon monoxide to actually off-put that. And we think of carbon monoxide as a super dangerous thing, but for crab eater seals, it's helping them stay underwater longer. So there's just a lot of random stuff, if that answers your question. I rambled. Yeah.
Also, you said that machine, you could find how to make it online. Yes. Where?
Yeah, I will give you the exact link. I need to... I'll just give it to you after this. I'll make sure I do. I don't have like it off the top of my head, but I got you.
How do you keep track of all the animals you've tagged? Like,
Can you repeat it? That are tagged? Yes. So let's say you have a GPS unit on a whale. Okay, so the whale goes out into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So the GPS unit on it, it's talking to satellites. So those satellites will say, hey, this is where this whale last pinged the satellite. So it's really usually those GPS units that can kind of work with satellites, and then you can kind of just track them wherever. There's a cool website called OCearch, like OCEARCH, and you can see all of these like sharks and dolphins and turtles that they've tagged, and you can see where they are currently because they've been tagged with a GPS unit. So yeah. Okie dokie. Oh, sorry, my computer's about to die. I'll turn it off. Okay.
Thanks again, Liz, and thank you to all of you for participating. We hope you've enjoyed this month's Teen Science Cafe. We hope you've enjoyed this month's Teen Science Cafe and hopefully learned something new tonight. Thank you to the museum's digital media team and to the Daily Planet Cafe staff for helping us, hosting us, and making this program possible.
If you enjoyed this presentation, you can find archived content online from nearly all of our previous Teen Science Cafes on the museum's YouTube channel.
And to be the first to know of any new content, make sure you follow us on our Instagram at Teen Science Cafe Raleigh. We invite you back on Friday, December 2nd for our next presentation with Wildlands Engineering. Don't forget to scan the QR codes on your tables and fill out the cafe survey, which I believe there are also paper surveys. So make sure to do that because your feedback truly does matter. And not only will you help us make future cafes better, but you'll also get a free piece of candy, Smarties specifically, get it. But anyways, if you show your completed and submitted survey to one of our cafe coordinators in the purple shirts, you will get candy. And my name is Nico, and thank you so much for coming to today's Teen Science Cafe. Have a great night.